Hello, my name is Francis Fox. I'm a trained remote viewer. Um, in Spanish, the subtitle to my name is Your Favorite Psychic Spy, which I hope to be. And why do I put in the word spy? Because I was trained by the government to be a psychic spy. And whereas I am not happy with that, if I don't bring it out, somebody's going to bring it out publicly, but in a manner in which it will be much harder to defend. I don't like spying on other people. I would be on television full time, particularly in Spanish, if I had been willing to use my abilities to tell the public what was going on with people in media. And I don't. I call that psychic gossip to the point that when I do my chats called Ask Francis, I'm learning to tell the parents, do not ask me about your older children. If your children are over 21, 22, 23, don't ask me questions. Ask them. If they're not telling you, it's because they don't want you to know. And I don't want to be a gossip. Now, you could say, well, how does that work having to do with the stuff that you're revealing, having to do with invisible influences? We're talking about public people that are putting themselves out there, and the information about them is out there. And I'm just giving another level of it, another layer of influences, so that we can all, including them perhaps, understand what's going on. Anyway, today's chat is supposed to be about intention versus reaction. So I'm going to start with an awful story. Where I live now, I am again living amongst peacocks. I live in Coconut Grove, and there's lots of peacocks. I love peacocks. When I lived here before, I had a peacock that used to sleep in a tree above my house. Every afternoon, he would trolley on down the street and make all of his noises and climb up one tree and then another tree and then another tree, and then he would sleep in a very high tree next to my house. And I loved it. But there's not a good ending to this story. One day there was an incredible storm, and I had company, and lightning struck. And I said, it hit the peacock. And my company said, how could you possibly know that? They know I'm psychic, but it just hit me in the heart. So I said, I know, it hit the peacock. And I got up and I went and opened the door that was closest to where the peacock would be, and the peacock was dead on the ground. It had been hit by the lightning. I was devastated because this peacock was my friend. Peacock is transformation. This is what I'm looking for. We're in the age of transformation. We're not in the age of information anymore. This is what I want for me and for everybody. So my guests were shocked and, my God, how does that happen? And I said, it's my fault. And they went, how is it your fault? Peacock represents transformation. And that's what I've been looking for, to transform back into what I would have been if I hadn't been in this government program, which I chose to be in, whatever. Lightning is fire. A lightning strike is a lot of fire and a lot of anger. And the lightning struck an animal that symbolized for me transformation. What's the message to Francis Fox? Very simple. You are so angry, Francis, at your life and at what's going on around you and to you, that you are killing your transformation. And I knew that that was true. It was my fault that peacock died. That peacock died in service to me, for me to look at that. So, reaction or intention? My intention was transformation. The tens of thousands of dollars I have spent when I used to spend it on therapy before I discovered the mantrista techniques and the mantras and the mudras, etc., etc. I didn't care if I spent my whole bank account. I didn't care how much time I had to spend. I just wanted that transformation. And yes, I was dealing with my repressed rage, but I never suspected it was that bad. And it was interesting because my guest had just told me a story about another psychic that they liked a lot, who was angelic. I'm not angelic, I'm dolphin. He was so wonderful. You know what? I knew a lot about him behind the scenes, and he was angelic consciousness. He was not angelic in his behavior. He was certainly no better than me, but he looked really good. And I think that had made me extra angry that these people couldn't see through that, and whatever, it triggered my rage. So you need to know that what you have inside of you, that you may not even be aware of the volume of it, could end up killing your intentions. Your intentions are there, this is great. And then you have reactions. And those reactions get fueled by stuff that you have inside of you, depression, anger. So you have to work diligently on old stuff that gives you an accumulation of negative energies, which are emotional mainly. And you need to reduce that so that your intentions don't get shot down the way that darn peacock got shot down. It left a hole in my heart, and I know it was my fault, part of my process. And animals are group soul, and they individualize to help certain human beings, the human beings they're near. So I knew that that animal soul would just go back to group soul, and there would be many other peacocks, but still, it was my special peacock in my tree every afternoon at 5, trolley on down the street. So what is it that you haven't finished dealing with that could take you down, even at the last minute? Deal with it. And if you don't really know, then why don't you go ahead and do this mantra? Please, God, help me with my intention to miraculously purify my deepest traumas. Please, God, help me with my intention to miraculously purify my deepest traumas. Sometimes they're so deep you don't know them. I mean, every 6 months I come up with another memory and I go, oh my God, how could I not have remembered that god awful thing? We are multi-layered. We're multidimensional. We're multi-layered in our consciousness. So, reaction versus intention. My intention to transform was great, but my reaction to my rage at something that was said and my reaction to everything that was happening to me at that point killed the symbol of my transformation. Make sure that doesn't happen to you. So let's go ahead. I sketched this group, this collective group, before we started. It looks really good. And it says, phase 1 of the ascension process was completed September the 2nd, which I think was Labor Day. And I can feel it. It's like a settling down. What I can tell you, though, is if you were running the same life you've had for years and you haven't had major changes, then there's something the matter. Because a transformation, we all need a transformation. A transformation means a change. Transformations can be very ugly. When somebody's been running a business forever and they just can't take it anymore, and they decide they're going to leave, or they're going to shut it down, or they're going to sell it for less than what it's worth, but they just need to get out now, everybody around them, what are you doing? What are you, crazy? You're never going to earn this money someplace else. What are you doing? And you do it anyway, or they do it anyway. And people say, what's the matter with them? Transformations can be ugly. People can get really ugly doing transformations. It's very painful. It's okay. It's part of the process. Part of the process. So continuing on, we have the triple triangles of protection. This is the third eye. It doesn't look as good because this pen is too blue, but it's all the way around. It's open. And then we have the creativity, very stimulated. Second chakra, which is our connection with God. It's called the sacral chakra. It's about sex, creativity, manifestation. Creativity. I noticed that in media, when I did a lot of TV, really hot-looking guys and hot-looking women didn't have great sex drives because you only have 100% of creativity. It's majorly in the second chakra. If you use it in the creativity that we consider creativity, such as being an editor or producer, TV, whatever, you're using up 90%, 80%, 100% of your creativity because it's in the same energy center, the chakra, as your sexuality. So when you get somebody highly creative, you can be highly creative. But if that's what you spend all of your time on, you're looking at somebody with a very low sex drive, because it's not possible, because there's only 100% of that energy here. And it's divided between manifestation, creativity, sexuality. There's a couple of other things that I don't remember, but they're not quite as important. So we're supposed to be balanced. So all of those hot looking TV stars, mm, mm, you can't, these are not rules, these are realities. So you can go, no, but if you go to the beach a lot, water, which is the element of the second chakra, which is the sacral, creativity, manifestation, whatever, then you can build that up more. But still, I can tell you that in media, a lot of people who look really sexual are not, because they don't have the balance. They're using up that energy center all in creativity. Okay, so here we got all of that. We got a lot of pink spaceships with the doors open, but no ladders. That's okay. The ladder was kind of like to rescue us. And here, creativity way, way up. And I'm seeing that a lot of times when I'm giving healings. I'm seeing that orange in places that I wouldn't normally see orange. Now I understand it because of this. The red, the fire of the earth, is not quite, it's almost catching us on the heels, but not quite. So we're a little bit, it appears a little bit safer from being taken down by the fire of the planet. I'm not talking global warming. That word, those words bring there's too many opinions. They don't even know what the heck they're talking about. They don't know what the earth element, the fire element is, and they're going to be talking about global warming. Give me a break. They don't know. I'm not using that. There is too much fire on the earth. The magnum in the center of the earth is moving. It used to be in an envelope. The envelope broke, and it's looking to escape somehow to the surface. And it moves, and there's certain places that are vulnerable where there could be a volcano due to the magnum coming up. And then if we can tighten the grid there, which is the Higgs field, then it won't come up there, which is what we had to do the night of the attempted assassination of Trump. The fire element went sky high in the United States. And there was a vulnerability in California, of course, and off the coast of California. We had to work really diligently to get that Higgs field there. It's called the etheric field. It's called the Earth, the life web, but it is the Higgs field, and it's composed of God particles, which science doesn't know yet. And the God particle is chi, which is the four elements, perfectly balanced in one unit. The four elements are so important, and you know what? What can I tell you? So we're doing really well. Let me show you the maps. The new fault line that started in the United States and went into Mexico, we haven't finished closing, but we made a lot of progress last night. I think it's related to sex trafficking, and I hope lightning doesn't strike me, but I think it's related to sex trafficking. Inside that fault line are thousands of souls that have been abused. I would not have expected that. That's not what I was looking for. We were going to sew this up in the other dimensions. And then I said, there's something inside there. We can't, it's like going to having surgery and they sew you up, but you've got the knife still inside of you, or if you've got an object inside of you, you can't do that. You've got to clear up the inside. So we've been working on the inside. We've made a lot of progress. It's not finished, and we need to finish it, because this fault line, as I said before, and every time I say it, I'm more secure about what I'm saying. This fault line had the ability, could have taken the whole planet down, having to do with the first phase of the ultimate apocalypse. Those images of crying and screaming and knifing and killing and body parts and red and the devil in those paintings that were done hundreds of years ago of the apocalypse, if it is not taken care of, because we haven't finished taking care, if this is not taken care of, everything else gets thrown out the window. We get taken into a cycle that we're not going to be able to get out of. So, actually, here are the words. It was opening more. Those are the words in Spanish. We went to Venezuela. What we found yesterday, the beautiful lotus flower that was in the center, it was gone. And we now have a portal in the heart of Venezuela. So I said, okay, what happened? Because something happened, because it was looking really good. What set the energy of the country back? And it turned out that the dictator said, order the arrest of the person that was elected president, duly elected president. But Venezuelans are angelic. It broke their heart. Isn't that sweet? We worked on it, and it was very nice. And one of the things that I did was I said to everybody that was there, and there was a high percentage of Venezuelans, I said, guys, you just can't be sitting around reacting to everything that everybody does. You have to continue with your intention that there be a miraculously graceful transition, but you also have to deprogram when something like that happens. This is the person they elected, and the dictator, who's not even supposed to be there, except he can be there legally till January, has set orders for him to be detained. So I said, so we worked on this, and I suspect that tonight we're going to find that we have the lotus flower back. And I told everybody, you have to have intentions. What are your intentions? You're waiting to see if you're lucky enough for the dictator to leave? No. We are in an age of superpowers now. You don't wait for people to do things. You make it happen. Not with guns and violence. You make it happen with your mind, because your mind creates reality. Anyway, by the end of the chat, I was really pleased with myself because it was a totally different energy. And people were saying, oh my God, my life has changed with all these techniques. And it does change with these techniques, because these techniques are based on my knowledge of the structure of the mind, which is strings. String theory, except when the scientists deal with it, they're still looking for it. I found it. If I tell them about it tomorrow, which I will, and I have, they're not going to accept it, because they don't want it to be like, they don't want it to look like that. It's in the original Lord's Prayer. In Aramaic, there's several lines that they talk about the knots in the strings. And in, as I said before, the Pope's, and it's not that I'm not ink and hair dye. It's not that I adore this Pope, but his favorite prayer is for the Virgin that unties knots, the Virgin undoer of knots. And those are the knots in the strings from string theory. You go tell a physicist that the strings are in the prayer. You tell them it's in the original Aramaic. They won't even bother looking it up, because they have a narrow lens. And that is one of the big problems with science. Very narrow lens. You need to widen your lens. We're in a new world. Anyway, the United States, which previously had multiple X's from black magic, looked like this 2 days ago. We took care of it. And the bottom says in Spanish, very clean. So we can make changes, but first you need to know what's going on. And you need to know that things can be annihilated very quickly, but they can also shift back very, very quickly. And that should give us all a lot of hope. In this stage that was completed apparently on the 2nd of September, we all have access to more of our superpowers, which are in our third eye. When Jesus Christ was on the cross, he had a crown of thorns around his head. Who asks about that crown of thorns? Does anybody ask? Does anybody say anything about it? They don't. That crown of thorns was letting us know that this was the third eye, which is here, is very important and dangerous. And it is dangerous. First place, in all of us, it's heavily invaded. It's like a command center for spirits that are not us. And getting them out is not an easy process. But again, there is so much symbolism throughout the centuries that when looked at with a wider lens, with an understanding of the other dimensions, you can get invaluable information that you can apply today. So let's look at the elections in terms of reaction versus intention. I love it. I love Kennedy. I love him. I'm so sorry. I'm not supposed to do politics. I love him. He is going to allow us, not initially, because he still works very much on the physical body. And as I say, I've never heard of anybody die from a sick abs. Like, when you work out and you work out your abs, I don't even know which of those muscles they are. Never heard of anybody die of that. Never. But that's so important. But eventually, we're going to get much more quickly under his leadership to first cause of why you get sick, which is not your abs. It's not. It's never in the physical dimension. We're going to get there. So he is setting intentions. He has really, 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 really strong intentions. Really, really strong intentions. What could hold him back? Well, that's really simple. Pattern. His relatives that had strong intentions to help got murdered. So he would do the mantra, please God help us with our intention to miraculously purify the pattern of assassination in the family. He needs to do that. Maybe we could do a session and do it for him. Because he has a strong pattern. You know what the pattern looks like in the strings? It's a knot. The knots they talk about in the Lord's Prayer and in the prayer for the Mary, the Virgin, undoer of knots. It looks like actually a hairball because the strings are really, really thin. The hairball, when the cats vomit, that's what it looks like. So he needs to do that mantra because he's got this wonderful stuff, but he's got a pattern that could take him down. We'll take him down if it's not clear. Therefore, we help him clear. What other patterns do we have that need to be addressed so that this time of incredible transformation, so that it can happen? And there again, if you don't know you can know what your patterns are. All you have to look at your family history. What happens continuously in your family? Everybody's poor? Okay. I don't know who Mr. T is. Spiritually sophisticated mantrita. I don't know who Mr. T is. What patterns do you have? You look at your family. Is your family always poor? Do they always have bad luck? First place, there's something called ancestral curses. I'm sure the Kennedy family has ancestral curses. It's just too much bad luck. Too many weird things. You can say, oh no, it's a sick family. It's not a sick family. It's a cursed family. And those curses talked about in the Bible can be removed. As a matter of fact, I've been thinking a lot about this Rinpoche, which is a high-level monk. See, I feel like crying. We did a mandala for Venezuela years ago when I found out that Venezuela was cursed. Because you can curse countries. Well, we're looking at it here, the United States. Give me a break. And the monks that I had been bringing in to work with different people, including my family, I said to them, we need to do a mandala for Venezuela. I mean, I don't know that anybody has done a mandala for a country before, but whatever. You got to get creative. And they wouldn't even respond to that. They don't really talk much, the monks. I was getting a little irritated because I brought them in like 5 times, very expensive each time, times 5, and they wouldn't respond. So last morning that they were in my home, we were having breakfast, and the major monk, the geisha, Thupten, said to me, Francis, we hear you. What you need to know is we're not that kind of monks. What kind of monks are you? I know what kind of monks they are. They're the nice monks, the ones that talk about don't be angry, be sweet, be nice. He said, what you need are tantric monks. Whoa, music to my ears, because when I was in Tibet, I worked with tantric monks. They are the monks that have compassion, but no mercy. And that was exactly what happened with me. They had compassion. They were supporting my mission. I was 10. They knew my mission. They're super psychic, and they were supporting it. They had no mercy. They were giving me what I needed, not what I wanted. So he said, "What you need are tantric monks." And I went, "Okay, send me tantric monks." "Oh, okay. He said, we'll work on it." So they did. So when I ordered the mandala for Venezuela, they sent a group of monks and they sent this Rinpoche. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. And during the closing ceremony for the mandala, do you know what a mandala is? A mandala is a piece of art that's done with grains of sand of different colors. It is stunning, incredible details, and it takes 4 monks, 8 hours a day, all 4 monks, 8 hours a day, 5 days to complete one. And the closing ceremony, they get a big feather and they destroy it to remind us that nothing is permanent. Anyway, they sent this incredible Rinpoche, and I could see the black magic lifting from Venezuela. I was like, whoa. Anyway, we should do that. We should do that. I've been thinking an awful lot about him. He would be a good person to have here in the United States. We are going to do that. We're going to do that. We should do it. Where should we do it? I had I had too large a home when I was bringing them in, and I don't have that today, but we'll figure it out. We're going to do that. We're going to do that. It's kind of neat. Okay, so let's go ahead and do some mantras. And remember, your intentions can completely be destroyed by your reactions. You already know that. You're in something great, and all of a sudden something makes you angry or depressed, and all of a sudden everything changes. By the way, that is the reason why women who are looking for a man and they go to the women that tarot card readers, and they go continuously every week, every 2 weeks, every month. What's he thinking? Is he going to? Why do they have to go that long, that often? Let the tarot card reader tell you what she sees in the future. The tarot card reader knows, and the person knows, that things change in 2 seconds having to do with love relationships and sex, particularly. They know that emotions can totally destroy the intentions of the female and of the male. An emotional outbreak or old rage that the male may have against females or the females against males. I'm not going into the gays and all the rest of that, but it's the same thing. So the future is elastic and plastic. And that's really good because you can change anything. And that's why in the Bible they say they don't know when whatever big that's going to happen is going to happen, because it is our emotions that are going to determine that. Such as the perfect example was Venezuela having a lotus flower 2 days ago, and then yesterday all of a sudden they have a portal to hell in the heart of the country because of a ultimatum or a law passed by the dictator that they were going to pick up the man who apparently legitimately won the elections. Emotions can destroy everything. That's why you need to make sure you don't have pockets of emotions inside of you that can get triggered. And I love what I'm seeing on X, which is where I get my news, with all of the plans having to do with health. I love it. All of the revelations about the stuff that we've been doing that's dumber than dumb. I love it. Every time Trump comes up, I'm going to do this. When he said about mortgages being cheap, and I went, oh, come on, please don't give away the farm. We have to, there needs to be money to run the country. And he said 30% of what you pay in a mortgage has to do with laws and regulations. I didn't know that. Okay, let's get rid of that's great. By the way, the United States is a Cancer country. Its astrological sign is Cancer. Cancer is, that's me, all about home and family and safety and security. Elon Musk is Cancer. We take care of other people. We want everybody to be okay. Trump is Gemini, and that explains his personality. Geminis are two people inside of one, and one is like a little kid that can get out of control, Trump. And then the other one is very clear-headed and very planning, all the rest of it. That's Trump. So they're both very true to their signs. United States is Cancer. Our kids cannot afford homes in a country that's Cancer, where home is everything. And we started to go downhill when we had that mortgage crisis, and there was a really high percentage of bankruptcies and short sales. All of those homes, bankruptcy and short sales, all became haunted because of the misery of the people that lived in them, that knew they were going to lose their homes. And it was then I said, you know what, the United States needs to do something, because this is not good. This is a country where it's important that everybody own their home. Not good. And it wasn't good. Okay. So we have great plans. We're going to bring in the Rinpoche. We're going to do a mandala for the United States. And we're going to keep celebrating people that have intentions with a plan. A plan. Okay? A plan. And are not just reacting. And are not just speaking empty words. By the way, everybody is incredibly intuitive now. So people that are saying things that are not legitimate are increasingly going to have a hard time. And I think they are. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's choose the mantra having to do with intending on having stable elections. Let's see if I can spell it right. And obvious, miraculously obvious results, to where there's not going to be able to be any playing around. So I will write it if you'll be patient and wait for me. And we will do that. Okay, here we go. Please, God, help us with our intention to have a miraculously stable elections and miraculously obvious results. Okay, so do we go to subconscious? We're going to go to the mind streams. We're going to go to the trilling mantrista movement, which was very much designed, composed for the mind streams, with the bird chirping, which is called trilling, which is why I was not happy when Elon took away the bird. But Okay, that was nice. Right from the beginning of doing the mantra, I could see a layer being lifted off of the entire country, starting in the northwest, like you were peeling off a rug. So it must be from the root of the United States. And underneath it was black. We're spiraling black, which means we have been hiding a lot of depression in this country. But it was lifting up. And so it's easy to take care of now. I was very happy about that. And I'm very happy about bringing the monks in. I think they have also been thinking a lot about us. And I'm sure there's a lot of interesting stories with them. They don't talk, but there's still a lot of interesting stories. And they love the United States. And they love coming to Florida. They feel very at home. So we're going to make it happen. Okay, we're going to set up a fund because this time first place, I shouldn't. And number two, I really cannot, because it is not just the fee for bringing them, it is putting up, it's about 9 people in hotels, being it that one time they visited me and I was living, actually it wasn't that small a place, but I had only 2 bedrooms and one was an office, one my bedroom. So and there were 9 of them. They were sleeping all over, even in the yard. They set up my patio furniture and they put it together and they made little beds because they come with their sleeping bags. And normally we try to get them beds, but they don't really care. They'll sleep any place. They're very comfortable and they're very neat, and they cook. Oh my God, they're great. They cook great Indian food. Indian food. They live in India, in the south of India, which is where all the Tibetan monks, etc., live. So it's very exciting. I always enjoy having them. And so now it's just a question of the logistics and bringing them in as quickly as possible, because they do stabilize. I saw what they did in Venezuela. And by the way, the other thing that was released from Venezuela in the 5 days in which they worked, which I sat there all the time and watched them, was what it was that broke Venezuela. And what broke Venezuela was not politics. What broke Venezuela was the treatment of the people that worked in the mines. And in the southern part of Venezuela, where they have gold and all of us that, the owners would kill everybody that could not work in the mines. Children, adults, women, babies, they killed everybody. If they couldn't work in the mines, they were dead. Literally, no hesitation. They didn't want to have to give them that plate of food if they weren't producing in the mines. And the horror of that, and the anger and the rage, I don't know how many years that lasted, but I'm sure it was a lot of years. That was over 100 and some years ago. But that information came lifted off of Venezuela during those 5 days that they were building the mandala. And when I said what I saw, I was told, yes, that's exactly the way it was. That's exactly what happened. I did not know that. I did not know that history in Venezuela. I know there's a lot of ugliness around natural resources and whatever, but I wasn't aware of that. So that is going to be something very exciting to look forward to. There's actually a lot of things to look forward to now. There's a lot of optimism. Let's keep this going. And let's keep all these great plans that are based on what's real, what is really going on, what the real needs are, what we really should be doing, such as in health. For somebody like me, it's been so painful to watch this whole thing. And people will say to me, well, did you get injected? And I used to look at them and say, I am a child of conspiracy. I am a product of conspiracy. Why on earth would I do that? I've never injected any of my pets. That'll be next. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining me. I feel very happy and very enthusiastic and very positive. And this is a new era. We have already entered part of the golden age. So we can't let what happened in the past affect our ability to continue to sustain the intention that this continue, and that we end up at a point where things make sense, where things can be examined, where things can be talked about, where things can be revealed. This can happen. It couldn't happen 20 or 30 years ago. We weren't there. We weren't here. But we have to make sure that our reactive anger doesn't take the whole thing down. Our reactive anger.